How do you unlock your super brain? Welcome back to day 4. We made it to day 4 together. I am your super brain coach, Jim Quick, and let's get into today's lesson. So what have we covered so far? In day 1, we talked about the 4 keys to learn any subject or skill faster. Now that you have this thing called meta-learning. After that, we said there is no learning without memory, so we talked about the 3 keys for unlocking what we call your super memory: motivation, observation, and the mechanics. And one of the mechanics we taught on day 3, which was yesterday, which is probably the biggest one when it comes to memory, is how to remember names and faces. And we talked about the B-swap method: believe, exercise, say the name, use the name, ask about the name, visualize the name, and finally end with the name. So in this session, I'm going to reveal to you some of the key points that you want to integrate into your lifestyle, your habits, and your routines to be able to unlock what we call your super brain. What are the tools and the techniques, the lifestyle hacks, the habits, if you will, to be able to unlock optimal brain health so that you have a focused, strong, agile brain? And I'm going to give you my 5 lifestyle hacks. Now, what I want you to remember as I'm going through this is this: there is no such thing as a good or bad memory. There is no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's just a trained memory and an untrained memory. In fact, only 1/3 of your memory is predetermined by genetics and biology. But that means 2/3 is completely in your control. So that means this works for you regardless of your age, your background, your career, your diet, your level of education, your financial situation, your IQ, your personal history, your gender. None of that matters. 2/3 of it is in your control. So let's talk about the things that really move the needle for your brain health. Number 1, I'm going to say, is this: a good brain diet. A good brain diet, because you are what you eat. You are what you eat. And there are certain foods that could really detract from your focus and from your memory. Foods that are processed, foods that are fried, foods that have excess amounts of sugar could lead to hyperactivity and really take away from your focus and your learning. So you want to eat the right brain foods. What are those foods? Some of my very favorite are avocados, blueberries, broccoli, coconut oil, eggs if you're allowed to be able to eat eggs if that's part of your diet, green leafy vegetables, wild salmon or sardines, very good for your brain if that's part of your diet, turmeric, walnuts, and dark chocolate. I would add an 11th in there, this thing called water, because your brain is, again, only 2% of your body mass, but it requires 20% of the nutrients. And also your brain and your body is 70% water, so you want to make sure you hydrate. And one of the best things about this, you could take all those things, put it into a blender, and you can make a super brain smoothie, right? You could put the blueberries, the avocado, the green leafy vegetables. I would probably leave out the salmon and the sardines, but add that dark chocolate and you have your super brain smoothie. So number 1, good brain diet. Number 2 way of unlocking your super brain is killing ants. Killing ants scientifically is actually good for your brain. You're like, Jim, I don't want to kill those insects. I don't mean insects. I mean automatic negative thoughts. Those are your ants. Automatic negative thoughts. Because this mental critic inside your mind is keeping you from the success you desire and you deserve. When you say to yourself, I'm so forgetful, or I'm getting too old, or I'm so absent-minded, I'm not smart enough, I'm not whatever it is, here's the thing. Remember your self-talk. That if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. That your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. One of the reasons I'm so excited about our Super Brain Quest, the full one together, is because we do whole modules specifically designed to get rid of that negative self-talk as if by magic, to change the limiting beliefs and change the limiting self-talk like this. And that's an incredible tool to be able to have in your arsenal for unlocking your super brain. Now, the 3rd key for unlocking your super brain is exercise. Exercise, because here's what you want to remember: whatever's good for your heart is good for your head, because when your heart is beating and adds more blood flow to your brain, you're getting more oxygen, which keeps you awake. So that oxygen is so critical from staving off mental fatigue and mental fog. So you want to make sure you exercise. Here's what you want to remember also: as your body moves, your brain grooves. Say it to yourself: as my body moves, my brain what? Grooves. The brain, primarily, the number 1 function it has is to control your movement. But here's the thing, it's not just a mind-body connection, it's a body-mind connection, that by using your body in certain ways actually lights up different parts of your brains. In fact, there was a study done at Oxford University that said jugglers have bigger brains. Isn't that interesting? Jugglers actually have bigger brains. They create more white matter that as their body is moving in certain ways, actually creating more connections inside their brain. Neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, this idea where you could grow older, but you could grow better. You could create new brain cells to the day you die. You could create new connections. Like Einstein's brain wasn't necessarily bigger than anybody else's. In fact, it was smaller on the small side, but certain parts of his brain were highly connected because he would do these thought experiments. And here's the thing, the key to neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, creating new brain cells and new connections, is novelty and nutrition. Novelty and nutrition, just like your physical body. If you want to build your muscles, you give it novelty, you work it out, you give it stimulus and exercise, and then you feed it with the nutrition. Same thing with your mental muscles. So the third key for unlocking your super brain is this: exercise. As your body moves, your brain grooves. Now, in our Super Brain Quest, I actually give you the exact exercises that you could do to be able to enhance your creativity, your focus, and your mental strength. The actual exercises I do every single morning to be able to jumpstart my brain. Now, number 4, the fourth key to unlocking your super brain is this: sleep. Sleep. And you're like, Jim, yes, please show me how to be able to do that. Because here's the reason why you want to be able to improve your sleep. If you're not getting the deep sleep that you need, when you get that sleep, that's where you consolidate short to long-term memory. Here's the question for you. How do you feel when you get a bad night's sleep? Honestly, how do you feel when you only got a few hours of sleep because you were traveling or the kids were keeping you up at night? How do you feel? How's your thinking? Not really great. How's your ability to solve problems? Probably not that great. How's your focus the next day? Probably not that great. How can you study? How can you perform? You can't do that. So sleep is so important. When you sleep, you consolidate short to long-term memory. When you sleep, actually, when your brain, that's actually where you're cleaning out the plaque that could lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. The other reason why you sleep is so you could dream. When you're in that REM state and you're thinking, yeah, dreaming is good, Jim. So what? Here's the so what. A lot of people don't realize this, but did you know some of the most incredible works of art and literature and inventions and scientific progress came from its creators' dreams? So for example, Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein in her dream. Elias Howe created the sewing machine in his dream. Paul McCartney came up with the song Yesterday in his dream. The periodic table came from a chemist's dream. So here's the thing, most of us have some incredible dreams at night because this is why. Throughout the day you're learning new things, but at night your brain doesn't shut off. Your unconscious mind still goes to learn, still goes to integrate, still goes to be able to solve problems. And when you dream, you're coming up with some amazing ideas. The challenge is when you wake up. What happens when you wake up? You forget your dreams. That's why we dedicated a whole module in our Super Brain Quest on the 6 steps to recall your dreams. Because what if you're coming up with solutions and ideas that can move your body, your brain, your family, your business forward, but you're forgetting them? So that's why sleep is so important. So maximize your sleep. One of the steps you could take to optimize your sleep is to not look at digital devices at night. And you're like, Jim, I don't like you anymore. I was loving you up to this point. We made it to day 4, but I gotta look at my phones. I look at my iPad. I'm watching my shows there. So here's the challenge. When you're reaching for your screens late at night, what it's doing is keeping you awake. How does it do it? Because it emits this blue light. Whether you're on your tablets or on your phone or on your laptop, this blue light from the screen inhibits the production of melatonin. What does melatonin do? It helps you to relax. It helps you to sleep. But when you're looking at the blue light, it actually stops that production, which makes it difficult for people to go into that rest. So don't look at a screen late at night. So that's number 4. Make sure you get restful sleep, and that's going to help nourish your super brain. And here's the last one I want to give you. Number 5 is stress management. Stress management. One of the biggest challenges we have in modern day society is this incredible amount of overload. So many responsibilities, too much to learn, too little time. The amount of information is doubling at dizzying speed, but how we learn it and remember it and focus on it is exactly the same. If not, it's falling. That gap creates a lot of stress. So you're under this immense amount of stress. They call it information anxiety, information fatigue syndrome. And the reason why it's such a challenge is when you're creating all this cortisol and adrenaline, it puts you into fight or flight, which is okay for physical activity, but it's not good if you need to study for an exam. It's not good if you need to study and prepare for a meeting or give a speech in front of a group of people. So all this stress really shuts down big parts of your brain. So you can't think at your best, you can't focus at your best, and you can't remember at your best. So that's why throughout the entire Quest program, we talk about stress relief techniques, specifically what I do each day to be able to monitor everything from my breathing to the foods to my rest, my relaxation, how I get into that parasympathetic place where I'm in this relaxed state of awareness where information is just flowing into my mind and my critical mind is set aside and I learn with this ease. When I talk about learning faster, I'm never talking about frantic fast. I'm talking about being productive, having a performance, having a real peace of mind, having calmness, because sometimes you need to be able to slow down to be able to speed up. And that's what these techniques are all about. So there you go. These are the first 5 keys for unlocking what we call your super brain. Number 1, a good brain diet. Number 2, killing those automatic negative thoughts. Number 3, exercise. As your body moves, your brain grooves. Number 4 is sleep. Get restful night's sleep. It's absolutely critical. And finally, number 5, techniques for stress management. Now in our full Super Brain course, I'm going to give you the other 5 that's really going to complement this because that only gets you 50% there. If you can unlock the other 50%, you're well on your way to unlocking your Super Brain. So tomorrow we've saved the best for last. It's all about how to master your mind so you can master your life. How do you optimize your mind so that you could have greater levels of influence, greater levels of income, and greater levels of impact? I'm Jim Quick, and I'll see you tomorrow.